The veneers are shaking. The crime stories are shaking. The cargo is shaking. Los Angeles is shaking. The presidential election is shaking. I don't know who's shaking, Lil Yachty or Caribou. The big bad bill is shaking. I refuse to call that bill big and beautiful. It's BS is what it is. And it's going to put us in a crazy situation. Well, the little people that is. But the billionaires and the 1%, it just upped y'all by 20. There's a lot to this story. Let me break it down and let's talk about it. I usually don't do this, but let me hit y'all off with a little piece of the remix. Now, I usually don't go to my notes section, but I took some notes from a CNN article, and I really think this is the best way for me to break it down what's about to happen to you guys. Let's start off with corporate America. So corporate America is going to receive huge tax write-offs. There was a tax incentive that they had from 2017 that allowed some crazy tax breaks, but it kind of fizzled out around 2023. Now they're bringing it back, which is going to put a huge boost on corporate America, basically the billionaires that own this company. We already knew that he was kind of going to do that. Now, that leads us to small business and partnerships. Now, let's read what CNN said. They said that deduction, which applies to small businesses and partnerships formed by lawyers, doctors, and investors, would get increased in the House version of the bill from 20% to 23%. So SBA loans and stuff like that, for your small businesses, they're only going to be really helpful for people that are already in power. So say you're a lawyer or a doctor and you want to start a small muffin shop, you would be able to get some of those deductions and tax credit. But if you're already a poor person, you're just looking for a loan, especially if you're a person of color and you're looking for something that could help bend DEI, the answer is no. No. The world is so racist right now, but the world, most importantly, America is so classist. This is all about decentering the poor. America is a country where you can come here with nothing, build your way up, and create generational wealth for your children. That's what they're getting rid of. It's going to keep the rich already rich and their kids richer. But for those trying to get a piece of the pie, no, we're only going to be set out as workers, which leads us to the next point, high income Americans. Now, the CNN article said for the top 1% of earners, the average annual income amount would gain almost $300,000. So in that piece of the article, they just talked about how the rich are about to get 30% richer. If you're already rich, the deductions are gone, tax deductions are gone, and they're about to increase everything they got going on and decrease all the things the small people have. They're taking from the poor and feeding the rich. This is reversal Robin Hood, okay? Now let me move my little body, because this is important. Workers who receive tips and overtime. Now I directly want to read this because this is really interesting to me. Certain workers will receive an extra tax break through 2028. Employees who work in jobs that traditionally receive tips could deduct up to $25,000 in tip income from their federal income tax, while workers who receive overtime could deduct up to $12,500 of that extra pay. Income limits apply, however, and that's where it gets sticky. Let me see where these income limits apply. Some people make a lot of money off tips and overtime, like your nurses or your people that work in high-end restaurants in New York. Even though New York is pricey, I remember this girl, Venus X, the DJ, she said when she worked at the 4040 Club, she brought home $3,000 every night. So it depends. But these income limits, I wonder what they are. And I'm sure they're going to negatively affect the poor. Now, this is the part of my notes section. It got really, really dark. The whole thing got dark. Low income Americans, because we talked about high earners. Let's lead right to the low ones. Elimination of Medicaid and food stamps. SNAP benefits are done. Now, I am somebody who highly benefited off SNAP benefits. I got off of them when I started getting famous in like 2021. But when I lived in California, them benefits was so good. And shout out to Gavin Newsom. Sometimes we would get like a random month increase on ours, and I needed every bit of them. I was going through a weight loss journey. I didn't have a full-time job on TikTok like I do in social media like I do now. And I needed every one of my stamps. Now, my parents, they come from a generation where they were like ashamed of the stamps. There was like a stigma. But my generation, college kids need those stamps. When you're 18 and you're able to sign up and say, hey, I'm homeless, I don't have anywhere to go, I'm living in the dorms, and you're able to eat quality, healthy food, because everybody cannot afford eating at the school. Unless they had that swipe, some people ran out of swipe. Having those food stamps like my senior year saved my life. You're able to fill your refrigerator and eat healthy. Because, sometimes you don't want wings on Wednesday. Sometimes you need a nice grilled filet salmon, and you could do it at home. It's just really going to ruin a lot. But one thing I did not see that's interesting, and y'all going to have to write me in the comments and talk to me about it, are they eliminating WIC? They said low-income American stuff, but it didn't specifically say WIC. It said SNAP benefits. So, obviously, let's talk about it. Hospitals. 1 trillion Americans are going to lose their Medicaid. Let me show you what my friend Bree posted. I thought this was crazy. Baby, Bree posted this. Oh my goodness. How many people will lose health care in your state? Now, I'm somebody that's not on Medicaid. I have regular insurance through my dad's company. Hallelujah, amen. But everybody don't got a dad's company like me. Everybody doesn't have that like me. Some people are really poor. Some people, especially, I work home health care sometimes. Shout out to Esther's Home Health Care where I work at. Well, sometimes, actually, we deal with Medicaid people. And those people need the help. They need the help. They're older people. They got surgeries coming. They got all sorts of stuff coming. Their spouses may have passed. They may have endured a lot of things where they lost their homes. Just natural human things happen to them. And so they're on low income base, but our home health care company works alongside them. So to see that, I'm like, I've got to see the real lives of these people that need their Medicaid. But you got people like this, the representative over there in Louisiana, Majority Leader Steve Scalise, talking about Medicaid benefits are being abused by 35-year-old able-bodied people who sit at home and play video games. And you can't tell me that. And that's why I gave you my home health care background. I'm seeing firsthand the people that it affects. The older people whose kids have moved out of town. Like I said, they need their surgeries. They need their dental appointments. They've had heart attacks. They need their regular appointments. And now their Medicaid is cut. What are they going to do? A lot of those people's spouses have passed away and some more stuff. And in the CNN article, they proceeded to say that the hospital said they'll never be able to keep up. Our hospital's going to close because people are not even able to go to the hospital, get the treatment, and because they don't have no insurance. They can't, they're going to have to turn people away. In turn, the whole system's going to suffer. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, this is the part. I can't say it affected me the most, but to me, this affects us the most. We got a big boost during COVID. It was a horrible thing that happened, but the air and the environment got a chance to be clean. I remember living in the Bay Area during the time where there weren't a lot of car emissions outside. The carbon footprint was drastically lowered, and the effect it had on the environment. It was like the sun was sunnier. It was almost like we got to live here a little bit longer because we actually gave the ozone layer a break because everybody was in the house. And it wasn't trucks and buses and planes, not as much as it usually is. Now they've eliminated clean energy research and stuff for electric cars, electric vehicles, the tax breaks that they were going to get. These electric vehicles were promoted to help the environment. Now that the tax cut and Elon and his boyfriend are beefing, what are we going to do? So let's see what CNN said. That will eliminate jobs, the jobs in electric vehicles, the people that work in that type of stuff, the Teslas, and when they work in, when you're able to go to those stands, the charging stations, people that work in those fields, they're going to lose their careers. And also raising the electric bill. What are we going to do? We're in a heat wave. That's what I'm like, now this affects our physical. All this affects us, but this really affects us. We're in a heat wave and can't nobody turn their air on because the electric bill is $1 million and you don't want to risk it. People are going to pass away. They're going to pass away because they're like, mommy could not cut on the air. I can't afford it. It was either rent or air. Electric vehicle makers could also be left worse off because the GOP bill ends the electric vehicle tax credit of up to $7,500 at the end of September. Previously, those tax credits were scheduled to last through 2032. No, the time is shaking, and I actually ran out of it. You guys, I was just breaking down the big bad BS bill, and I was talking about clean energy, and now we got to proceed. So for those who haven't seen my previous video, go on my page, Everybody Hate Chrissy, and go look at my first video of this. It's going to say Trump big bad BS bill. Part 1. This is part 2. Let's continue to talk about it. So I was saying how the electric vehicles could also be made worse. The end of September, they're cutting the tax credits. Previously, those tax credits were scheduled to last through 2032, providing a powerful incentive for car buyers. So now we're going back to regular smegular cars. What that's going to do to the environment, plus not having no clean energy, plus not having no research, is going to tear it up. We're already going through global warming. This is not a drill. What Al Gore, wasn't it Al Gore? What he tried to explain to us back in 2001 is coming into play now. The environment is cracking. The polar ice caps are gone. Gone. Iceland is looking like Greenland. Greenland's looking like it's a mess right now with the environment. And we can all tell these are the hottest summers. We have no winter. That is not good for the environment. Before it was an ice age, this is giving fire age. And I'm not just saying that and throwing things out there. I'm going off of the development of history. I'm not even just going off of the Bible or the Quran or anything like that. I'm going off of science and what they say about extinction. It's too hot, and it ain't no drill. Now let's talk about the deficit hawks. Increased deficit by $3.4 trillion. Now the deficit is America's debt. America's in debt, baby. None of us can pay our Klarna. None of us can pay our Affirm. Everybody's credit score, nobody cares. Now there's going to be adding trillions to the debt risk, lifting already elevated interest rates. Now that means when we have the interest rates on our cars, our homes, all the things, it's going to hit us so bad in our pockets, nobody's going to have nothing. This is the kind of thing that does one of the scariest things to me too. It eliminates the middle class. It's going to create a caste system. It's going to give India the richest of the rich, and the bottom feeders are in the bottom of the caste. Okay? And that's a scary thing to think, that we can't just go to school, and some of us could be multimillionaires. Some of us can just have nice homes and have nice families and just be normal and get our money and go home. No. It's given out on the street, what this big BS bill is doing. And CNN continued to say that in turn will make it more expensive for Americans to finance the purchase of a car or a home, and for a business to borrow money to grow. So that's what I'm saying. When I did the earlier video, I want you guys to go back and look. I talked about CNN saying that deduction is going to apply to small businesses and partnerships formed by lawyers, doctors, and investors. People that are already rich, already philanthropists. This is sick. This is scary, and this is happening to us in real time.